Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here to talk a little bit about the 2024 Elimination Chamber live from Perth, Australia, WWE's annual event, the last stop on the road to WrestleMania before we get to actually WrestleMania. So it's kind of like a WrestleMania preview, but it was extra big this year because it was international. It was the first pay per view ever held to my knowledge, in Australia, uh, which made it a little inconvenient for fans here from the United States. Like the pay per view aired like at 2, 3 in the morning, and fans here in the United States were already asleep. But like other people are saying, you know, this is payback because usually uh, pay per views that come from here, hey Lisa, what's going on? Here in the United States air in the UK and Australia and other countries, uh, at 2, 3 in the morning, and we get to see them at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, normal hours, and they have to stay up to see them like at 2, 3 in the morning. So this time around, it was a little bit different. This time around, we in the United States I have to stay up and watch it later on. But thank God for the WWE Network and thank God for Peacock because if this was back in the day where we had to order the pay per view, I don't think a lot of Americans would have stayed up to see it. You know what I mean? It's on a Saturday night. Adults don't have to go to work. Kids don't have to go to school. But back in the day, as many people know, pay per views were always on a Sunday. So we did have to go to work and school, back in the day. That's probably why they never aired international pay per views. They would have international pay per views like One Night Only in '97 and other UK only exclusive pay per views. But we in the United States we wouldn't have the chance to see them only later, when they came out on tape or DVD. But yeah, but we got to get used to this in the WWE because they're doing a lot of international shows. Last year they did Backlash from Puerto Rico, Clash of the Castle in the UK. Also last year, and usually Montreal was last year. Elimination Chamber was from Montreal last year. That's not international in terms of overseas, but that's a different country, Canada. And this year they're doing Backlash from France. The pay per view after WrestleMania Backlash will be in France. So we got to get used to that. We're going to start seeing that a lot more on these WWE pay per views as WWE expands to other countries, the international market. Maybe one day they'll do a, a pay per view in China. Anyway, let's get down to talking about the matches and what are the results of the pay per view. Um, first off, the women's elimination chamber. We're going to be getting Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania this year. Remember, I speculated who exactly was going to take on Rhea Ripley. For Rhea Ripley's title, it's known who's going to take on Io Sky for her championship because Bailey already got turned on by Damage Control, and she already picked her choice as the winner of the Royal Rumble. But the Women's Elimination Chamber was to determine who's going to take on Rhea Ripley for her championship, and Becky Lynch won. Now, a lot of fans are very upset about this. That a lot of them wanted Liv Morgan because Liv Morgan is a favorite. Me, I wanted Bianca Belair, but a lot of people are upset about um, Becky Lynch being pushed so hard. They feel like since Triple H has taken over for creative, that Becky Lynch is now the favorite of Triple H, and she's going to be the one that he's going to put above all the other female competitors. So and that's kind of true. You know what I mean? I don't think he sees much upside in Bianca Belair in the way that Vince McMahon did. Vince McMahon saw a lot of upside in Bianca Belair. He put her in the main event at WrestleMania 37 in 2021. He put her. He had her go over Asuka. What was it? Yeah, last year, right? They were in LA when she came out with the dance troupe from Compton. He even when they did the merger, the UFC and WWE at the stock exchange, it was her and Montez Ford that were the representatives of the WWE side that went with them. So Vince McMahon was highly favorable towards Bianca Belair, but not so much Triple H. They're putting Becky Lynch in that spot. So it's going to be Mommy versus uh, the man versus Mommy at WrestleMania for Rhea Ripley's title. Hopefully, Rhea Ripley retains. Rhea Ripley is one of the most over superstars in the company right now. Um, Becky Lynch, her time is come and gone. Her time was 5 years ago. You know, she was one of the most over superstars. I'm probably looking forward to pretty soon the Judgment Day turning on Rhea Ripley and her and Dominic splitting up because it's obvious that she's a huge babyface. And speaking of uh, her match with Nia Jax, pretty good match. You know, pretty good back and forth action. Once again, I felt like she was playing the babyface role pretty well, and obviously she's a hometown favorite. She's an Australian, so when she came out, the crowd was ecstatic for her. The crowd popped for her. Not as big a pop as I thought she would get. You know, like Drew McIntyre got in the UK, or even Bobby Lashley got for the men's elimination chamber at this pay per view. Not as big a pop as I thought she would get, being that she's from there, but a pretty huge pop and reaction for her. So congratulations to Rhea Ripley on retaining her championship. Now, the men's elimination chamber. The winner of the men's elimination chamber, as I predicted, was I said it was going to be Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre did go over. So now, according to at least the way from a kayfabe point of view, the way that it's supposed to be, right? Drew McIntyre is your number one contender going into a match with the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. Now, another thing happened on this show, on the Grayson Waller show, right? Grayson Waller, of course, a talk show segment similar to Piper's Pit that wrestlers go on. And the special guest and one of the biggest attractions was Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins to address The Rock and Roman Reigns. Now, they didn't specifically specify if The Rock, who's going to face who. All that happened was Cody Rhodes issued a challenge to The Rock for any time, anywhere, and reiterated that he'll be taking on Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship. That was all that really went down. You know what I mean? So we don't know really anything about what's going to happen in the future as far as WrestleMania. We don't know if it's going to be a tag match, but all we do know is that either night one or night two, Seth Rollins is defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre, who won the men's elimination chamber. Like I said, Bobby Lashley returned, got a huge crowd reaction. Uh, Dominic Mysterio was also here. He and Finn Balor. Um, Successfully defended their WWE Tag Team Championships against the New Catch Republic, and he got a huge heel reaction. Dominic Mysterio is one of the most over heels in the company. In 4 years, this young man has gone from a guy who was infuriating to watch on TV when he and his father were tag team champions and when he was shooting with Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy back 4 years ago, to him turning heel and him freaking being the most over heel in the company, getting so much heat to the point that people think that his boos are piped in by the system, but they're not. This guy he's infuriating. He's a chicken shit heel. He runs away every time. He escapes by the skin of his teeth. He's one of the most over heels in the company. So congratulations to the Judgment Day. I want to see the Judgment Day drop the titles to The Rock and Roman Reigns, but I don't think that's gonna really happen. You know, I think they're going to retain the championships, and eventually, somehow, Damian Priest and R-Truth are going to turn on the Judgment Day, and the Damian Priest and R-Truth are going to challenge the Judgment Day for the tag team championships. That's what I believe is going to happen in regards to that. So, I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. Now we're on our road to WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes issuing a random challenge to The Rock for whenever, wherever. Now it's up to The Rock to answer that challenge. When it's going to happen, I don't know. Maybe they'll do. Again, this is what I love about this storyline. They're throwing everything at this, confusing us. Um, they're not telling, we can't really call it and we can't really predict it. They're not telling us really what is really happening. You know what I mean? Each and every time they throw us a different curveball. We know that it's going to be the Rock, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but we don't know what's going to become of the Rock. How's he going to get involved somehow? Is he going to cost Roman Reigns the championship? Is he going to turn on the bloodline? Is he going to turn babyface? Or is he going to, like I'm saying, take over the bloodline? This is what I want him to do. I want him to cost Roman Reigns the championship and take over the bloodline. I want him to rule over the bloodline and take over the bloodline from Roman Reigns in the way that he took over the Nation of Domination in 1998 from Farouk. I want him to do that exact same thing and remain that heel authority figure. Because, yes, the heel authority figure got infuriating. It got stupid after a while, like when they would have the years that they had Vicky Guerrero as the Raw GM, and she got annoying and she got infuriating. And people were saying, oh, the whole idea of the heel authority figure going against that babyface and throwing everything at that babyface, and that babyface still overcomes. Like around the time of WrestleMania 32, when they were doing it to Roman, when the authority, Shane McMahon, not Shane McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Vince McMahon, and Triple H were doing it to Roman Reigns. It was like, okay, this is an old tired storyline from back in 1998 when they were doing it to Stone Cold Steve Austin. We've seen this already. We want to just go back to regular old, neutral authority figures, and that's what they gave us. They gave us Adam Pearce. They gave us now Nick Aldis. They're regular authority figures like Bill Watts in WCW in the early 90s, or Jack Tunney in the late 80s and early 90s. It's neutral. Right? Or Nick Bockwinkel in 1994 in WCW. Neutral. Not heel or babyface. But with this, you have a real life storyline where The Rock is the head of the table. He is the head of the board in TKO, and he can use his authority to go against babyfaces. So if Roman Reigns turns babyface and loses the WWE Universal Championship at WrestleMania and somehow gets Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa under his influence, then he could then use the bloodline against Roman Reigns, and that can make Roman Reigns an even bigger babyface and make Cody Rhodes an even bigger babyface. Now Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, who were enemies and fought each other in 2 WrestleManias back to back after that, could now align with each other and be forced to come together. That's what I would like to see happen. But and And now Cody Rhodes, as the WWE champion, now will be advising Roman Reigns on how to take on his cousin, The Rock, at WrestleMania 41, and that could be the culmination of the bloodline and the end of the bloodline. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to go the opposite direction. I want them to do that, but I think they're going to go the opposite direction and just have The Rock turn babyface and have The Rock have Cody Rhodes say that he had a secret weapon all along to beat Roman Reigns. He knew he couldn't beat Roman Reigns just by himself because he tried that at WrestleMania 39 and it failed. Other people like Sami Zayn tried that. Other people like Goldberg, all these other wrestlers that Roman Reigns took on, Edge, Daniel Bryan, all these other wrestlers that since Roman Reigns has been a heel for 4 years now, he's taken on, he's taken on and he's beaten with the help of the bloodline. So Cody Rhodes knew he needed a secret weapon, and his secret weapon was to enlist The Rock. And then The Rock now is a face against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 41 next year. Whether it's in Las Vegas or whether it's in Minnesota, wherever it is. So, okay, Lisa, that's what I think they're going to do. And as far as Seth Rollins, I don't know where he really fits in this storyline, really. I mean, if he's not going to be involved and he's just having a match against Drew McIntyre, why put him involved? We got to see where it goes, where it leads to, and what's happening and how they're going to break the main event up. But that's it for Elimination Chamber. The next pay-per-view, obviously, is WrestleMania. And that's what I'm really looking forward to, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to see when my next video is coming out. Yeah, men in tidy whities, but also women in bikinis, though. And uh, another interesting thing that happened last Monday night on Raw, for the first time ever since the merger of UFC and the WWE, we saw a UFC fighter appear on Raw challenging calling out Conor McGregor. Michael Chandler, who called out Conor McGregor for a fight at UFC 300 coming up. Yeah, it was super weird. But hey, we knew we were going to see things like that after the merger. You know, we're going to see WWE guys on UFC and UFC guys on WWE. They're trying to get the two fan bases together. I mean, that's what the head of TKO, the combined company, said he wanted to do. He wanted to make every WWE fan a UFC fan and every UFC fan a WWE fan. I don't see that happening because they're two completely separate fan bases. You know what I mean? But they're trying to bridge that gap. You know, but it looked really weird. You know what I mean? Like he comes out in the audience, Michael Chandler does, and he yells out, Conor McGregor, we got unfinished business in the octagon. And every WWE fan is looking at like him like, what who like who the hell's this guy? Talking. Some fans like both. I knew who he was. But a lot of fans don't. A lot of wrestling fans don't like MMA. They find it boring. And a lot of MMA fans don't like wrestling. They find it fake and silly and stupid. You know what I mean? So, but they try, You know what I mean? To integrate the two companies, which I think is a mistake. I mean, Disney owns Star Wars, Disney owns The Simpsons, Disney owns Marvel, but you don't see Luke Skywalker in a Marvel movie. You know what I mean? Baby Yoda in a Marvel movie. They keep Marvel separate from Star Wars, and they keep their princess line separate from everything, and they keep Mickey Mouse separate from their princess line. You know, just because you own the same thing doesn't mean you have to put them together. You know what I mean? People might like spaghetti and they like ice cream, but they don't like ice cream on top of spaghetti. On top of spaghetti, you know what I mean? Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. You know what I mean? But they believe it does. You know, Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro, the people at TKO, the heads of TKO, they believe that they can integrate the two products as long as they don't, as long as they don't have a WrestleMania where they're gonna have just MMA matches and like MMA matches, UFC octagon, UFC style matches in the middle of a WWE pay per view or vice versa. I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? A little promo here and there, you know, acknowledging, like I said, the Michael Chandler thing, calling out Conor McGregor. You know, that's cool. That's fine. That's all right by me. You know what I mean? But taking a, a whole lot out of a wrestling show and putting UFC on it, or taking a whole thing out of a UFC show and putting wrestling on it, and trying to make one side like, you know, forcing it down people's throat, that's gonna be bad for both companies. You know what I mean? And if they try to do that, then that's the end of wrestling and the end of MMA. You know, they should be kept completely separate. You know what I mean? But I guess they figured, hey, a challenge to Conor McGregor uh, makes a lot of sense because a lot of people know who Conor McGregor is. A lot of people don't. Like if you put Sean Strickland, let's say, right, or um, Sean O'Malley, MMA fighters, UFC fighters that people don't really know, that a wrestling fan will have no idea who that is. Or likewise, if you put a wrestler on there like Dominic Mysterio, and you show him on in the UFC audience, and the UFC fans have no idea who it is, then of course, it's gonna look weird, right? But if you put The Rock and you have The Rock come out and cut a promo in the middle of the octagon, people will know who The Rock is. You have Conor McGregor come out and cut a promo, people will know who Conor McGregor is. You know what I mean? On the UFC side. If you have John Jones, who's the heavyweight champion of the UFC, or Francis Ngannou, who was the former head of the UFC, I mean, a champion of the UFC, well, people will know who that is. Oh, those guys are, because those guys are mega famous. You know what I mean? Household names. Even Khabib Nurmagomedov, people might know who he is. From the UFC, from the WWE audience. But you just can't throw any random UFC guy out there and have him appear on a WWE show, and have any WWE random guy that the wrestling, because they tried that years ago before they were even under the same brand. 2020, the first SmackDown on Fox uh, episode in 2020, when they were building up the match between Brock Lesnar and Cain Velasquez. They threw out Cain Velasquez there, and a lot of wrestling fans were like, "Who the hell is this guy?" Even though Cain Velasquez was the most one of the most famous, well-known UFC fighters, and the guy who actually beat Brock Lesnar at the for the UFC Heavyweight Championship in 2011. Still, WWE fans were like, "Who the hell is he?" You know what I mean? They didn't know who he was. Same thing with boxing when they brought Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury at that time was the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing, but WWE fans don't know who he is. So it can get complicated when you try to muddy the waters like that. Also, they set up Logan Paul versus Randy Orton for WrestleMania as well. So we got to see where this heads. Anyway, peace. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to see my next video that's coming out. I love you.